Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by Old School Lane, producing various content from blogs, videos, and podcasts discussing about movies, TV shows, video games, and everything else in between since 2011. You can check out the podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, Overcast, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and YouTube. We're associated with Channel Frederator, Manic Expression, The Comic Book Cast, and The Arun Mehta Show. Welcome to a new episode of Casual Chats. I am Patricia, and I'm here with a very special guest. Why don't you introduce yourself, my good sir?
Yes, of course. Well, hello. My name is Spike Spencer. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Spencer. We have with here a very well-known, prolific voice actor in many iconic roles. So for those who are probably tuning in and wondering what you are most known for, how would you say that you would probably state yourself as?
Gosh, I always said my quick response to that is always, I play effeminate little girly boys who save the world in a biomechanical freaking robot, or the psychopath. So it's one of those weird things where I voiced animation, anime, video games, etc. for a very, very long time. And so I have a whole lot. I just say, you know what, Google me, number one, but I'm most known for Evangelion, playing Shinji Ikari for, 25 years.
Wow.
Whew. That's been a while. And there's that, but some of the other ones like World of Warcraft or Colonel Kled from League of Legends, also Wukong from League of Legends. Those are big ones. And of course, in other animes, Bleach, Boruto, Bungo Stray Dogs, Black Butler, yada, yada, yada. Google me.
There you go. So I'm actually really curious, especially since you have been doing this for a very long time. Where did you get your inspiration to do acting?
Well, the weird thing is I am an actor, first and foremost. That's what I planned on being. And I went to college for acting. I found out in high school I wanted to be an actor because originally I wanted to be possibly a lawyer because that's where the money is. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't sure what I needed to do. My dad said, well, you should probably take some acting lessons because you're going to be speaking and performing, etc. As a lawyer. I said, well, I should get some skills. I went to drama class in 10th grade and said, that'll be fun. And I auditioned for a play, and I got the lead role in the first thing I ever auditioned for, and it was Charlie's Aunt, one of those, and I was Jack Chesney. So I was my first role. I had to put on a fake British accent, which I'm sure was terrible, and when we did our first night and the curtain came down and the applause went up, I was like, I'm done. This is what I'm doing. Love it. So I decided to be an actor, and I went to the University of Houston, majored in drama. I got a baccalaureate degree from the honors program, majoring in drama. Nobody cares. And so it's like, wow, I got this neat piece of paper, and I got some of the best training in the world at the time. This is back in the late 80s. Amazing teachers and coaches and all of that. And so I went pro about 88, 89. And being in Houston, I was doing anything and everything. That's what an actor does in other places. They don't pigeonhole you. You're like, okay, I'm going to do training films. I'm going to do voiceover. I'll do on camera. I'll do anything. I mean, it doesn't matter. And so I was doing that, and I guess it was 91 or 92. I was doing a live action movie with Amanda Wynn Lee. And she told me about AD Vision and anime, and I'm like, what's that? I don't know. And so I said, sure, if it pays, I'm there. I'm an actor. That's what we do. So so I went over to AD Vision and auditioned and got a role in Super Atragon, my very first anime role ever. And it was a lot of fun. And then I just kept going and back and forth, and we did a whole lot of anime back then. And it was just part of what I do. I mean, on camera, I have been in scenes with 4 Academy Award nominees, me and them, and nobody knows because I'm known for the voice stuff. So I was doing all of that in Houston, and then had a big shakeup in my life in 2005 and moved out to Los Angeles and went, pro, and didn't do anything on camera. Just couldn't get on camera. It didn't matter. But voiceover, I had a lot of success there, and I had contacts and whatnot with relationships. So I did a lot more voiceover. So that's when my career shifted mainly to voiceover, was in 2005. And I've been doing that ever since. And now I'm living in Australia.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's a long story.
Yeah, but it's a very fascinating story nonetheless, especially since I'm a communications major at my school, and I'm going in for broadcast journalism, focusing a lot more on writing, as well as maybe possibly doing voiceover in like radio stations and podcasts and other things. So, for somebody like me, and even for a lot of our listeners who may even are in that department as well, what advice would you give them?
Well, it depends on what you want to do voiceover wise. I'm also a coach in several different modalities, business, relationships, dating. We can talk about that. My dating cookbook for men. But in voiceover, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a voice actor, then what's the second word? Actor. So you have to go take acting lessons. That's why, because most of the voice acting, like video games, that's full on acting, people. Anime, full on acting. You're in the booth. It's a little more constraint. Obviously, I can get to the technical differences among all of them. But video games and animation, it's all acting. It's incredibly fun. There's a lot of technical things that go to it. But in the bottom line is you have to be able to generate a character that is fun or dark or whatever it is, whatever the character needs to be. You have to be able to do that. In order to do that, you need to be trained in acting. As far as things like you're saying, radio, that's a bit of a different animal. That's not really acting. It's a certain precise thing. Like radio imaging is one thing. Radio spots are different from television spots, and are different from promos and trailers. There's all different aspects. So you need to train in the aspect that you are looking for. If you want to do radio imaging, then you say, okay, are there any voiceover teachers where I'm at that will teach me radio imaging? That sort of thing. Or go online. I mean, there's teachers anywhere around the world now. Excuse me. But that's kind of the first step to doing voice work, is understanding the broader scope of what it is you want to do, and realizing that there are different avenues and a lot of different acting. Anime is different from animation, is different from video games, is different from promo, from radio, from all the other things. So they're just varying degrees.
Yeah, there is varying degrees. And I think that when it comes to how you pitch your voice and the energy that you present, as well as what the material is, then you need to really be prepared with whatever the outcomes are. And I've been learning a lot about that in class when it comes to how you pitch your voice, or how close that you get to the microphone. And if you are given something in the script that says you need to act this way. So I have been learning a lot about that in class, and, going more into the discussion of how to properly present yourself, especially since even though I have been doing a podcast for almost 10 years, I still have a lot to learn in terms of like the technicalities of all of the audio practices if I want to be able to do this for a full-time career.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the technical difficulties we had just connecting, and with me, same thing. I do my podcast, and I had to go through every little thing. It's like, what is wrong? And sometimes it happens,
Yeah, it
no
does
matter what it
happen.
is. Um, and especially now, voiceover wise, for example, like I said, I'm in Australia. I got stuck here, quote unquote, because of COVID. I was appearing at a convention 1 year ago, and packed for 3 weeks, living here for a year, and it's amazing. We love it. Come on down. And I'm going to be here for another couple of years because I just started culinary school. So I got a student visa. I love to cook, and I do my podcast. I still do voiceover. I have this is like I'm working with you with kind of my podcasting rig, which is here, but my professional stuff is in that closet back behind me. I've got my mic and my input, the router, and all that stuff. So now it's the technicality things, the technical difficulties, and anywhere in the world, you've just got to find a way to get online and connect. And it doesn't matter now because of COVID. It's interesting. People in Burbank, if I was in Burbank, I still wouldn't be going into the studio. I would still be doing it just like this. So what difference is it that I'm here in Australia or in Burbank? Time zone. That's really
That
it.
is yeah, I guess you're right. Especially, since I used to hear a lot of documentaries and I used to hear a lot of podcasts from voice actors and voiceover people saying, if you want to be able to get into the industry, you have to move over to a certain location where the work is at. But I think because of everything that's been going on with COVID, that because that we cannot go inside the studio to record audio or to do any sort of work, that it can be done anywhere. I mean, of course, you have to have the right chops and you have to have the right skills in order for you to do it, but you don't have to worry about having to travel somewhere else in order for you to get a part of the industry. And I think that that's interesting for those who want to be able to get their shot out there because it's a possibility for them.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And many of us voice actors have several agents in different areas. I have a lot of different agents in different places, and I'll get things from an agent in, let's say, North Carolina that I won't get from Georgia, that I'll get from Dallas, and I may get it from LA or, the UK or whatever it is. I'm going to get different things because some of those gigs are locally sourced, and they're not going to not everybody's going to send their stuff over to LA. So it really doesn't matter now. But the the caveat I will give to that is you do have to develop relationships. That's the second part of the voice acting puzzle, is you get the chops, but then you've got to start developing those relationships, and you got to start now. It's taken me 30 years to develop a lot of these relationships that I have, that where I'll get a call and I'll go, hey, this character is perfect for you. Will you do it? Yeah, that's great. Because most of the stuff that I get from myself on the relationships that I've built. I'm auditioning online for someplace out of Dallas or Austin or wherever. It could be anywhere, and my agent didn't get me that. I did, and my connections got me that. And oh, somebody told me about you. Who knows you? Here's the email. And now things like LinkedIn are very valuable because you can start developing these relationships. You can Google who's a voice director in wherever, and you can start reaching out to them. Hey, I would like to connect with you. Hey, I'd like to connect with you. And you start, there's a whole system to doing all that, but you start developing relationships. You start having conversations with people, and then they'll look at your demo. Obviously, you have to have a website, have your demo. Go to spikespencer.com, check out the voice stuff, and my demo's there, my resume's there. It's that's easy. If anybody wants to know about me, it's very simple. Hit in Spike Spencer. I've got spikespencer.com. If you don't have yourname.com, then you need to have that if you want to be an actor, voice actor, or anything. And that's very important that you have all of that done, and you have it done professionally, so that you come across as, hey, I'm really serious about what I'm doing. And if you're just starting out, be honest. Hey, I really don't know what I'm doing here. I'm learning. I I think I have a good voice, and I'd love to get in. So if you've got a second and would be, give me a shot, great. I'd love to audition for something. That's it.
Yeah.
Just be honest.
Yeah, and by the way, for all of you listeners out there, the whole discussion that Spike was having regarding about connections, please, please take that to heart, because I have done a lot of projects for my school over the years where it involved with getting connected with people who were associated or affiliated with ABC and NBC, and these people are like major contenders in the industry. And if you want to really show off your work, like with my stuff was like camera operation and setting up equipment like gaffing. So when I was helping with those projects and they saw that I was working really hard on it, I was called back into doing the other projects for the consecutive years. And if you don't, then they'll connect it to other people saying, this person is not really, cutting it for us. And you may think that, because it's Hollywood or, whatever location it is, you would think that, oh, it's just only one person. What big of a deal is that is? It's not. First of all, it's more interconnected than you think. If one person says it, everybody else is going to know about it. And it's going to be much more harder to get into the industry if you don't put up your best foot forward.
Absolutely. Watch what you post.
Oh yes, watch what you
post. You can look at my stuff, and I'm pretty much 99%. It's all positive or silly or goofy sci-fi or Monty Python. It's fun. I try to keep it fun. I do get a little snarky sometimes, but sometimes you gotta smack somebody. You're a troll. Yeah, I think it's very, very important to put your best foot forward and let people know that you are professional. And one thing that I say, what you said, and this is something I would say in my coaching, is what you were doing is a classic success strategy, which is do your best work. Work very hard, whether you're doing it free or whatever, because the term, I forgot who said this, but it's so absolutely universally true. How you do anything is how you do everything. Let me say that again. How you do anything is how you do everything. So if your life is a mess, if your desk is a mess, if everything else is a mess, guess what? Your business is probably a mess. If you're structured and you know what you're doing and you work very hard to do the best of your ability, every little thing, then that is going to resonate outward on everything that you do. You're going to do your best. So something that I ask somebody who may have failed at something is, there is no failure, by the way. There's only lessons. And if they do something, I say, well, let me ask you this. Did you give it 100%? Honestly, did you? And if they say, yes, I did, then you have absolutely nothing to feel bad about. You did your best. If you didn't do your best, then there's some concern there. And you say, okay, well, how can you do better next time? Very simple. But anyway, that's what you did. You were doing your best, and you were doing it very well. And people see that, guys. People see what you do. They're watching. They don't care what you say. They're watching what you do.
Right. And considering that I have been doing my podcast stuff for a very long time, and I would, and any guest that I've had on the show, and a lot of people have been asking me, how did you get these people on the show? Well, it was due to the connections that I've had, whether it be like with friends or with people that help me connect with others, or even other actors connecting me with other actors, or even with my colleagues where they know somebody and they know of my work saying, hey, I think you'd be great if you were to get a hold of this person because they're up your caliber. So yeah, it's all about these connections, and it's all about presenting everything that you can and showcasing that you're willing to take all of this seriously. That way, eventually you can start building up your pedigree so that you can be able to show them that this is all the work that I am capable of doing. And this is all the work that I'm hoping that maybe I can get so in the future. And so I'm thinking to myself, wow, I mean, I can't believe I made it this far, but I couldn't have made it this far if it wasn't for the connections that I was able to build over the past decade.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
So I'm actually curious, especially since you've done so much. I mean, you've done on camera work, you've done voice acting work, you've done, your panels with cooking. So what is your personal favorite that you've done?
Gosh, that's a hard call. What I really love is the conventions. That's so much fun. I did love doing my cooking panel. I've only done cooking panels at two. Excuse me, I'm going to cough a little bit. I had very hard VO session yesterday, so I blew my throat out a bit.
No problem.
Um, mm, mm. There we go. Comes with the territory. So funny thing, I've done at cons around the world. So whenever you go to a convention, you sign autographs. That's a given. You also do panels. Well, I've done 3 panels always for 13, 14 years now. And it's always been how to be a freaking genius voice actor, step one, which is all about voice acting. What happens at the con stays at the con, which is now a book, volume 2, available on Amazon, by the way. And it was all about the crazy things that happened behind the scenes and crazy stories that I've been told, some of which I instigated, just throwing it out there. A lot of crazy con fun. And there was always Don't Kill Your Date and Other Cooking Tips, which was all about relationships and dating, etc. So I did those for years, and the DKYD, or the Don't Kill Your Date, became the book Food Game, A Man's Ultimate Recipe for Dating Success, which is available on Amazon. So it's odd that, people are like, wait a minute, so the voice of Shinji Ikari is a dating coach? It's like, well, yeah, kinda. I mean, I'm a relationship coach, number one. But this became one of my favorite things is at conventions as I got better and better, because I went through a really, really rough time. Some people know my story, but it developed into a really, really good panel. And I'd have, hundreds of people in the room, and I'm talking about relationships. I'm like, ask me any question. They're like, well, what about this? And I'm like, bam, here's some advice for you. Here's some techniques, tips, tricks, trainings, etc., that can help you in your relationship. And it is evolved into what I call the reluctant hero's journey. So it's not about dating and relationships so much as it's about your relationship with yourself. And especially that is what I have a membership group called the Reluctant Hero's Journey, and it's for the kind of the nerd geek world at this point in time. I mean, I teach the same things inside there that I'll teach a 7-figure earner, but I don't think that personal development and self-help get really taught in our community. People don't really understand that there's a way and there are techniques to develop yourself and become better and lead to success. So that's kind of what I'm bringing, and that's one of the most exciting things that I love about who I am and what my industry does. And that's what my podcast, the Mind Scrambler podcast, is all about. It's all about the journey. It's all about that development, and that excites me the most, really, because that is where I'm able to actually help people and actually do some good. And I'm really, I really enjoy that. That's one of the big things that I do. And then of course the cooking. I love that.
Oh, I believe it or not, before I wanted to go into going into broadcast journalism, I was actually thinking about maybe going to culinary school. But that was around like over 10 years ago, and that was when the Great Recession happened, and that was when a lot of restaurants were shutting down, and so it didn't exactly work out, but I still enjoy doing that as well.
Well, it's funny. I never thought I would. I mean, I've always been a cook, and I've always cooked, and I've done like the Don't Kill Your Date and Other Cooking Tips. I wanted to make that into a show. So I'm still looking to do that, possibly do a show that is a cooking/relationship show. And we talk about relationships, we talk about cooking, and etc. Because that's my whole shtick, was Food Game. I cooked for my dates, and that's how it worked. And I've taught a lot of people that, and that's fun. But the universe gives you what you want. My desire has always been, above anything else. My wife would say, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to travel the world, and I want to eat good food and have fun." And I started going to. I mean, that's what I was doing. Going to conventions and eating everywhere in the world, and just going, wow, this is so much fun. But I want to do it on a much higher level. But so the universe basically put us here in Australia at a time when, well, okay, everything is pretty great. We're in a really, really great place. We're in the beach is right over there. We walk on the beach every day. And I'm in culinary school now because you can get a student visa. And I figured, well, we're going to stay here. I might as well do something that I love. And there's a culinary school right down the road that I'm going to, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. And we're here and we're loving it. So a couple years down the road, I'll be a chef. Throw that in there.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. I mean, voiceover artist, chef. I mean, what's not to love?
Absolutely. And I will do like a cooking dating show maybe down the road or some other idea, because I do love to cook, but I really love to share ideas. I really love to expand people's minds, because that's what the Mind Scrambler is about. It's scrambling up all the junk that's in there, all the stories that we've been told that's holding us back, because there's a lot of that. And you can have everything. You really, really can. And it takes time. It takes work. It's like anything else.
Sure. And especially if you're just like starting this from the ground up. Like you just got, it's like for a person who has been one thing all their lives. It's like I've been an engineer all my life, and now I want to get into doing something completely different. Now I want to get into being a chef. So now you have to be able to like rethink all of your skills that you've already accomplished, and try to restructure yourself and try to get back into the basics of things, and then slowly you just gradually learn and you continue to grow and hone your skills until you eventually just start becoming just as good as you were as an engineer. So it takes a long time, especially if you're a person who's starting a little bit later, like as opposed to like if you were starting when you were a lot younger. But it's never too late to learn a new skill. It's never too late to be able to say, I want to start my life over and I want to be able to do something completely different. I mean, that's what I did, where about 5 years after I graduated from college, I worked in a lot of dead end jobs because I just couldn't find anything that was part of my career. And so I started over from scratch, where I went back to school, and I've been able to complete at least 3 years. I have another year going, and I've been able to expand my podcast and my other creative venues, and hopefully I can be able to do something that I personally love doing. And it wasn't easy, of course. I mean, I started off like from nothing, just like a lot of other people, but it's all about persistent, and it's all about being able to pick yourself up from all the scrapes that has been going on, and just continue to follow in the path that you believe is right. And if you don't, then just learn from it and try something different and see where that goes.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. It's the universe is open to everything. I mean, it's when you start really getting out there. I've expanded my mind so many different ways in the past 5 years, really. I mean, when Kim came into my life, my amazing wife, and she is a certified high performance coach, and she's training business owners, and it's just amazing what she can do. She's absolutely incredible. And so I've also been developing and expanding my repertoire and the way I think. So it really is understanding that you have so much power inside of you. And this is what I train people in. It's like going, you just have to tap in. You just have to know. It's like anything else. I work with my voice as an instrument. So if I want to talk up here, if I want to talk down here, whatever it is, I know how to use that instrument. Well, guess what? You all have an instrument. It's you. And you can utilize this in ways that will help you succeed in anything you want to do. It takes work. It takes knowledge. It takes time. So the first step I always tell people is like, hey, you know what? You got to have the desire. The desire has been put in there by the universe, whatever you want to call it, by God or whatever, but your desire is there. And if you have a desire, then you have a way to make that desire happen. And that's something that I just like to let people know, because so many people are down and they're like, oh, I just can't do this, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you think you can't, then you're right. You can't. If you think you can, you're right. You can. I think that was Henry Ford who said that. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah, I think that I can understand for a lot of people, if they've gone through like their major struggles, it's like, I've done everything I could and I still am not able to get it right. Well, I mean, it's like with Thomas Edison, he failed about 1,000 times. It's that 1,001th time that he was able to succeed.
Yep. Over and over. How many auditions do you think everybody goes through to get one? I mean, kind of your basic idea of auditions, like you do 100 auditions to get one job, possibly. All right. You know what? I've seen that number over and over again. I was doing real estate investment, and over and over again, they say you're going to have to look at 100 deals to get one. If you look at, like real estate trainings and stuff, if you get 100 people in the room, one's going to actually purchase and move forward. So that 1% thing is very, very real. And it's not just one political thing. It's everything. There's a reason why there's a 1%, because that's how many people will do what it takes to get to where they want to do it. And if you're that person, then awesome.
Yeah,
Sometimes it takes
absolutely.
a long time. Believe me, I'm older than most of your voice actors out there, and I still haven't done. I mean, yeah, I've done a lot, but I'm not at a level where I want to be yet. I will be there. I'm
Mhm.
maybe 80 when it happens. I don't care. I know it's coming. I know it's happening. And every day, everything that I do leads me toward that end, and I know that's where I'm going.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I'm with you talking about like your convention experiences and even writing so much as a book about it. So, I like to know what have been your favorite convention experiences, whether it be funny or whether it be heartwarming or whether it be like like a shock and surprise. So, yeah, at least share one. I'm actually
Well, first of all, I
curious.
would say buy the book. It's What Happens at the Con Stays at the Con, Volume 2. That is because I had Volume 1 forever, and then I added three big stories and then put it into an actual book. It was always a little audiobook that I would sell at cons. And my main thing is when I love going to cons that are outside of the US, for example, like going to Montreal or coming to Australia or New Zealand or Ireland or whatever. And when I would go to those cons, I would explore as much as I could. I would stay extra and explore as much as I could. Or I'd pop a flight over to Paris or Barcelona or Amsterdam or whatever, just to be able to put two cities in one shot because I'm already there. Why not?
Mhm.
And that was the most absolutely amazing thing. I've been able to travel the world because of that. And I'm incredibly blessed because of that. I'm here in Australia because of that. And who knows what's next, to be honest. So, but we are going to have to wrap this up. I have 3 minutes because I've got a hard out because I'm going to go do my podcast right after this.
All right. Well, that's fine. I just want to, say any final words right before we go. So, looking at everything that you've done in your career with, your voicing Shinji, or doing your own podcast, writing your own books, and now being in Australia and just, doing something that you thought that you would have never done. I mean, what would you say, for all of our listeners who are tuning in, like, accomplishing a goal or accomplishing a dream, like, especially if it's something that they've never expected. Like, what advice or what statements would you give to those who are still trying to figure themselves out?
Focus on the little things that can give you gratitude. A lot of people dismiss small wins and they're like, oh, I just don't have this big thing. Well, guess what you do have? You have all these different things. Like, for example, here, I mean, we're in Australia. There are so many people that are like going, oh my gosh, how are you doing? Are you okay? Don't you want to get back home to Burbank? No. No, I don't. Why would I do that? Everybody there is in fear and scary and masks and I'm here in Australia walking the beach, no masks. Everything's wonderful, beautiful here. I mean, yeah, I'm very, very blessed. I have my wife. I have my baby boy. We got another baby boy coming in June.
Oh,
We have a great
congratulations.
apartment. Thank you very much. I have these things. I have a microphone in there. I have the ability. I have the internet. We have food. We have water. I mean, there's so many things you can be grateful for every day. Switch your mind to that because that it sounds a little woo-woo, but it gets you vibrating on the right frequency or whatever it is. It just puts you in the right mindset. And people want to be around that. People are drawn to that energy, that cheerleading energy, that awesome energy, because nobody wants to be around a downer. So think about that. Focus on the things you're grateful for, the things you really have. You may not think you have anything, but I'll guarantee you, if you're able to watch this right now, remember, you've got internet, you've got a computer or a phone or both. You've got food, you've got water, you got a roof over your head. That puts you in, again, the 1% of the entire world. You're welcome.
Okay. Well, that's a great way to end things off. So, Spike, I want to thank you so much for coming into this podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Oh, let me tell people where they can find me. SpikeSpencer.com. You can find me on the Mind Scrambler podcast. And please go follow me on Twitter at Spike Spencer. I think it is. Easy to find. Instagram, all the other places, Facebook. Yeah, come see me and go buy my books and have an amazing, amazing day.
Absolutely. And if you want to find me, I am Patricia Miranda. You can find me at youtube.com/oldschoollane, facebook.com/oldschoollane. I'm on Twitter at Patty_B_Miranda. You can listen to my podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Radio Stitcher, Public, all those places. New episodes of my podcast will go there first, and then it'll go up in a few days on YouTube. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know in the comments below about your favorite stuff that Spike has done, whether it be with his books or with his voiceover roles or even his cooking panels. So thank you so much for listening. Hope to see you around soon, and take care.